Hey, we're live. Welcome. My name is Alex Barker. D webinar series about remote jobs for pharmacists. I'm the CEO and founder of the Happy PharmD, and we are a nationwide career coaching firm guiding pharmacists and to inspiring careers and fulfilling lives. We have helped now over 2,000 pharmacists, which is crazy, into new roles, new job paths that they love. And I got to tell you, I love what I do. Today, I'm thrilled and I'm privileged to share the screen with two amazing pharmacists who also love what they do, Nupur Kalki and Sam On. Thank you for joining us tonight, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You're going to hear great stories tonight about how Nupur and Sam achieved some big goals and dreams for themselves. And by the way, I highly encourage you, please grab a pen, a paper, grab your phone so that you can take some notes as you're listening, because you don't want to miss out on some of the magic of this transformation that they've gone through, as well as just some of the insights that they've learned from their career that you could apply to yours. Okay, so before we begin, allow me to share a little bit of my own experience. I also have a remote job, but it's going to clarify what we do and why we do it. How I got the idea to start the Happy PharmD was, believe it or not, I was a burned out pharmacist. But something amazing happened to me in 2012. I hired a coach and I fell in love with the difference that it made for my life. I started the Happy PharmD in 2017 with a profound commitment to help pharmacists who were like me, frustrated with pharmacy, but knowing deep down that a lot more could be done with their careers, with pharmacy, and their life. So at the Happy PharmD, we know that when pharmacists have careers they feel great about, everything changes for them and their families, or puppies, which we may hear a puppy or two during this webinar. Just heads up, Sam and I have dogs. But you know, it's a totally different world when you're fulfilled at work. Coffee tastes better, the sun is brighter. You go into work not dreading the day ahead. You feel excited about the work, and you get energized by doing it. And then you enjoy more time with your quality time with your family. So at the end of our session, I want to give you all the details on how to get in touch with us if this sounds like, a great fit for you with where you're at in your career, and if you're ready and committed to maximizing your potential. So more on that later, but for right now, let's jump into the discussion on how these pharmacists expanded into their potential. And now I'm going to do something fancy. Look at that. So I know both of you guys' story very, very well, and thank you for sharing it with me. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I think what would be great to do is to talk about where were you, before this transition, and then how did you identify, remote jobs, and talk about what it's like now that you're working in that job. So Nupur, your story is so powerful. I would love it if we could start with you. What was going on before you started to work with us at the Happy PharmD?
So I was in retail pharmacy for about 16 years, and I had been trying to get out because it just got going from bad to worse with impossible metrics, working hours a day, no breaks, nothing. And I was told, one, you'll never find a job outside of retail because you've been in it for too long. And even when I tried to, it was like I couldn't land anything. It was like you take a bunch of darts, you throw it against the wall and hope something lands, and nothing would ever land. So I came across the Happy PharmD actually on Facebook through the Pharmacist Moms group, and I'm like, I'm just going to try this because I don't know what else to do. And it was life-changing for me because a lot of what I was doing, I learned that was the wrong way to do it. Julie, my coach, she basically said, you need to focus on what you like. And I'm like, well, I like everything about pharmacy. She's like, no, you don't. No one likes everything about their job. What is it that you like? What is it that you don't like? What are deal breakers for you? And we were just talking. And I said, one of the things I don't like about what I do is commuting. So I don't think consulting would be a good option for me. And I was like, whoa, I get it now, you know? So I enjoyed doing MTM. And she said, whoever told you that because you're retail, you can't do other things? There are a lot of things, skills that you have in retail that can translate. So you have to go out there, focus your search, which is what I did. Focus your search, do the research on the companies that you that look appealing to you, and translate your skills in retail to MTM. And tailor your resume to that job that you want to apply for. Because my current resume that I was using was a great pharmacist, but it's not going to get me an MTM job because it's a retail pharmacist resume. So I redid. I started from.
Well, hold on. Let's not jump ahead too far because you're plowing through a lot of stuff that you went through. So just to reflect, I think you're not alone. I think a lot of pharmacists feel like their careers aren't very illustrious. They don't matter. Companies aren't interested in what is going on or what you've done. So I think it's great that you were able to like take a step back for a moment and realize there are things that I really love. There are things that I'm good at, and companies are out there and that will value that. Now we'll come to this in a minute. We'll come back to you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to leave you hanging, but Sam,
yes,
I think there are some similarities. You probably were nodding your head. Yep. Been there.
Yep.
So what was going on, before you started to work with us?
Well, I was also in community pharmacy for most of my career. I did work at a drug company my first year out of pharmacy school in a regulatory affairs fellowship. But a lot of my career was in community. I was in corporate retail for most of it. And then the last maybe 4 or 5 years, I was at an independent community and compounding pharmacy in a mid-sized city in the Midwest. So it was stimulating, interesting work, and but what really happened was the pandemic that really introduced a lot of different stressors that I found myself frequently saying, it's like, I never in a million years would have thought this, like when I was in pharmacy school, this is what I would have to endure. I kept telling myself things will get better when, and then when would come and things wouldn't get any better. So I kept finding myself moving the goalposts over and over, just trying to wear too many hats at once, especially when the reliability of my support staff just went down and down. So one day I would be delivering prescriptions all around the city. One day I would be I'd be working in the compounding lab. Other days I'd be working on administrative duties. And I found myself just being a pharmacist less and less. And it frustrated me because not only would I have to do other people's jobs, I'd have to do my own job afterwards. And it got to the point where I'm walking into my back gate and I'm looking at my phone and I realize, oh crap, I almost forgot my mom's and my dog's birthday. They both share the same birthday. So that was the crystallizing moment in my life when I realized I have resolved to do what I can to change my situation, because moving the goalposts on and on is just going to be a perpetual exercise in futility. And that's when I decided I needed help to break out and become that indispensable pharmacist that I knew I could be.
When both of you started your coaching journey, did you feel like you had an idea of what you wanted to do as far as a career path goes? Because the subject tonight is remote jobs. There's so many remote kinds of jobs. In fact, when my team brought it to me that we should talk about remote jobs, as a subject for this webinar, I honestly was kind of like, I don't think so. It's sexy, it's fun to talk about, but it's not like a career path. So going back to the question, do you feel like you had an idea of what it was you were looking for in terms of a career?
No, not
No.
no. My field in pharmacy was retail. That's all I ever knew. So when I started this, it was like, I don't know what I want to do. All I know is there is nothing that's going to compensate for hating what I do, and I need to get out. But I had no clue what that out was.
Yeah, I suffer from like the easily distracted by shiny objects syndrome. I would definitely, I wouldn't say fall in love, but I would express great interest in the next greatest thing that I I saw. There was a lot of recency bias. So what really helped for me was not thinking about what I would be interested in, but what job would fit my values, or like what I was looking out of a job outside of professional satisfaction. And some of the things that really came to, like, I was writing down my values of what I wanted, and something that struck out to me was freedom. And like there are remote jobs where you are still punching the clock, and there are other remote jobs where you do have your own like sense of autonomy where you shape your own schedule.
Yep.
And I've worked both in a remote sense. So knowing what I valued really helped me distill what it was I wanted out of a job. And like I'm a long-term care consultant now, and everything about that really struck me as like it really hit the freedom box really hard. I have large autonomy over my own schedule. I don't have to like no one's micromanaging me, making sure that I'm logged on at a certain time or meeting a certain metric. Because I did work a remote job, a remote MTM job, mind you, where I did find myself having to meet onerous metrics. So it just goes to show that just because a job is remote doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to escape all the ills of like corporatized healthcare.
Now, Napur, since Sam dropped the bomb and what he does, what do you do? What's your title?
I'm a clinical care pharmacist. So what I basically do is I actually go to an office, and we service countless hospitals across the country. We do admission, med recs, discharge counseling, MTM. We do chart review. When I left Walgreens, I knew that I wanted to use more of my pharmacist knowledge, because I loved MTM. That much I did know. And I wanted to actually do MTM, but where to go about how to get about getting there, I didn't know how to do. So that's what I knew what I wanted. Is I wanted a job that used more of my pharmacy skills, because I was tired of being an insurance middleman, and bringing up a register and helping somebody find the hair dye in aisle 3. I wanted to be more of a pharmacist, because that's what I went to school to do. Not be a glorified cashier, or like explaining somebody the donut hole for the umpteenth time. So for me, it was using more of what I learned, being more of a pharmacist, actually using my pharmacy knowledge to help people, to talk to people. Because the greatest time that I had in retail, when I had to sit down and talk to people about their medications, those rare moments where I actually had a few minutes to sit down and say, hey, let's talk about how your medications work for you, why you should be compliant, all things. And patients do that.
So much to unpack here.
Yeah.
As a part of our process, when you work with a coach, Sam and Napur highlight two different things, right, that I think everyone needs to take note of. When you are thinking about a remote role, you lose a lot of things. You lose regular interaction with the team, typically. You lose the office space mentality. Those can be great things, but it also means that you have to really love the work. Because if you're like me and you don't love doing something and you're at home working remotely, boy, I would much rather play a video game than actually do the work if I don't absolutely love it. So like Nabor says, almost every pharmacist I know can say something positive about their jobs, no matter how bad it is. There's like at least one thing that they can do on a consistent basis that they love, and it gets them excited. And they're like, oh, if I can just do that for 5 minutes today, it'll make the whole day that much better. And the other great reflection that Sam pointed out was values. I think the only time we're taught like values, typically in our pharmacy education, is when we have to recite the pharmacist oath, right? When they gather us up all in that room and then they make us read this paper and they're like, okay, you mean this? And we're like, yeah, we mean this. We have an exam, tomorrow. So yeah, I'm just going to read it and then it's done. We don't often contemplate what is most important to us. And in Sam's case, it had to do with, actually utilizing his knowledge and getting in the lives of patients and helping them with where they were at. These are the things to talk about in interviews, on your application, and they're the thing to connect with when talking with managers or people that work at the companies that you're looking at. We've jumped ahead a little bit, but I want to go back to an original question that is in our outline about what we're supposed to talk about, which is what roles are out there that allow for the freedom, as Sam pointed out, of remote work. So both of you, I would say, have kind of like a consultant role, correct?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You set your own. Well, Nupur, it sounds like you have more of a schedule.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday.
Every other weekend. So it's not Monday through Friday typically. I got like a couple of days off in between, but they're flexible. So if I say, hey, can I come in an hour later? Sure, go ahead. As long as you get your time in, they don't care.
Hey, freedom, baby, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
consultancy is it's a wide open field, and it's the Wild West right now in terms of pharmacy. If you want more information about consultancy, just type a comment somewhere in this, and either today or tomorrow, our team will get a cheat sheet to you that kind of gives you a summary of consultancy, what it's like, what companies are out there, typical salary, things like that. Sam, I think it's interesting for you because you did a fellowship, but you didn't go into pharma.
Yeah. And that was mainly a financial motivation. I could have stayed in pharma, but one, the barrel of student loans was like looming over me, and I was about to turn 26, and I needed to find a job that offered health insurance. So when you have the freedom of being able to say, like, I don't have a family to support, or I don't have a loan burden, there's a lot of opportunities out there to do wonderful, different, interesting things. If you're fine with giving up some stability in the sense of being a contractor. So like there are, like, I've had pharmacy benefit managers or insurance companies reach out and try and headhunt me in the sense where, like, you could like work this remote job, you could do prior authorizations, for example, and you could work from home. But it's still it wasn't a guarantee of. There was less financial stability, and there wasn't a guarantee that you'd have a position after 3 to 6 months. They'd say most people do get hired, but like most isn't all.
I think that's a great time. I think this is a great time to point out the answer. Any job can be remote practically. Thanks to the pandemic, we've seen a transformation of the workplace. And study after study is coming out showing that not only do companies retain people They have higher job satisfaction when they are remote. And there's conflicting evidence about productivity and profit margins, but what evidence is available is, I would say, somewhat positive. I don't think that the entire world is going to go remote and we're all going to be living inside of our houses like it's some kind of pseudo matrix. But I think gone are the days of being required to come into every institution. It's almost easier to say what jobs are not going to be remote. And in many cases, that's things like the traditional hospital and community settings. I would say manager roles, executive roles, but a lot of consultant jobs, a lot of pharma jobs, a lot of PBMs, long-term care. I mean, almost every niche of pharmacy, you have value as a pharmacist. And now is the age of negotiating for working from home, at least a part of the week. I mean, I think there's only maybe 3 coaches on our team that are pharmacists that have jobs that require them to be on site every day of the week. And we have 11 coaches. So this is the wave of the future, and congratulations, you get to be a part of it. Now is the time to look for a job. Can anyone work remotely? This is the time, Sam and Napor, to talk about the downsides, the things that not everyone wants to talk about. Remote jobs are fun, but what have been some of the roadblocks, some of the negative things that you've run into because of working remotely?
Well, for to admit, like basically med rec for an admit patient, it's not being physically there because some of these people are hard of hearing. Some of them they won't even answer the phone, or the doctor's in the room. Can you call back? And then when you call back, they don't answer the phone, or they'll pick up the phone and leave it off the hook. So then I have to call a nurse to go inside the room. So it's not being physically on site can be a hindrance for me, at least. And then sometimes when you call patients to do the discharge counseling that I have to do, they don't answer the phone because they don't recognize the number.
Yep.
It can be very time consuming to do work of one case.
You can't grab someone by their face and make them pay attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have that captive audience like we do when you're face to face.
Yeah.
Right. If only everyone would answer my emails. Sam, how about you?
Well, like the question of whether or not anyone can work remotely is like, yes, anyone could work remotely. It's whether or not they'll be able to succeed as a remote employee. So it takes, as Liam Neeson in Taken to say, a certain set of skills to succeed when you're working remote. You got to be a bit of a self-starter. You got to manage your time well. You have to like mind your deadlines, and you got to be flexible in the sense that like in my position now, like there are times where immediate things, like for example, like skilled nursing facility MA services like suddenly has a surprise inspection by the state, and now I have to change what I'm doing for the day to offer support to the facility. So you got to be able to roll with the punches. You got to be able to have a variety of be able to wear a variety of different hats, in the sense that like you got to be like self-starter, and you have to be happy with the ability to maybe go long periods of time without speaking to anybody other than your own dog.
Yeah, we hear him. He's very excited.
Yes, yeah. He usually participates in all my video meetings. So you also got to be able to self-start in the sense you have to keep up your skill sets and not let your knowledge grow stagnant. There was I actually quit my job without having a place to land in the summer of 2021, and I used the interim time because a lot of associations were offering CE trainings on remotely to brush up in other clinical skills that ended up making me more marketable and more attractive candidate when I did apply to my positions, my remote MTM job, as well as my uh, uh, long-term care consultant role. So if you want to be a remote, work remotely as a pharmacist, you can't just expect to have it be like a community pharmacy where you walk in, punch the clock, put in your 8 hours, and walk out, and just not think about work until you clock back in. But if you're able to do all of that, you can work remote and you can succeed and be satisfied all at the same time.
Yeah, I think you humbly have approached some of the things you don't like. I think you have to be aware of the insanely different lifestyle of what remote work creates for you, especially if you have family and kids and dogs. I have all 4 of those things. I don't know how many.
All of the above.
All of the above. And I had to kick them out, except the dog, because it's my little puppy. But I had to kick him out tonight because I didn't want any distractions. I'm working. But if you can't do that, especially if you have young kids, it's a battle. It's a real battle. And there's also, I've done remote work now since 2018. And I have to admit, there is some sort of magic when you get to see people in person and you get to be creative, or you brainstorm, or you talk about workflows and systems when it happens in person. I'm very blessed to have one of our career advisors live in the same area as I do, and we meet practically on a weekly basis, and it's so much more productive and effective versus me just looking at him on a Zoom call. Like that is probably the one downside that I wish I could change. I wish I could move every coach to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to the middle of nowhere. And I think, oh man, we'd get some real momentum going. But on the same coin, there's something great that is a part of the remote lifestyle. You can live anywhere you want, do anything you want. When both of you were looking at this job, you identified some job types that you were interested in. How did you go about looking for remote work specifically?
Well, my current job just fell into my lap. I found it on Indeed, and I didn't know it was a remote job, to be honest with you. I just like the job description, what I was expected to do, because I'm like, this actually suits my interest as a pharmacist. So when I went for the interview, that's when I was told, well, you come to the office, but you're servicing hospitals around the country. Then that's it's remote. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't know my job was a remote job until I did the interview. I more on like the job description, like what I would be doing, what was required of me, and things like that.
Yeah, you have a very different remote kind of job.
Yeah.
How about you, Sam?
I hate, as much as I hate to admit it, I also did kind of luck into my first remote job, the remote MTM job. I had my my resume, and there was a lot of work that had to be done on said resume. It was on Indeed. They reached out to me, and based off of like the skills that I had on there, I did do the APHA MTM certificate training course. I've I've done the cardiovascular one, the diabetes one twice. Basically, any kind of long form continuing education course. I took the time to try and expand my knowledge base. Doing those in and of itself doesn't necessarily automatically qualify you for a job, but it shows someone that you are interested in expanding your knowledge base and you are a lifelong learner. Because it does take that kind of mindset in order to succeed in some of these jobs, because not everything comes with a very detailed instruction manual. You do have to kind of learn on the go.
Yeah.
But going through all that really does help make it so that you have the right tools to get off on the right foot. So I found the remote MTM job by having my resume posted it on Indeed. But I found my consultant position because I was part of a few networking groups. Somebody posted an opening about long-term care consulting, and I reached out to some colleagues and asked them if they could tell me more about the career. And the more I learned about it, the more I thought this really does fit what my ideals and goals are and values would be in a job. So I pursued it after I agreed and yeah, this is something I would want to do. I got in contact with the person who was hiring, my boss right now, and they were busy, so I had to be consistent. I made my first contact last October, and it wasn't until December where I was really starting the job. We met for coffee because we were both in the same metro area. We talked about it more, got an idea of what the job, more exact parameters of the job. And then after that, I basically just had to keep calling and texting and emailing just to follow up, because they're busy as well. But I made sure that I was periodically top of mind. I tried not to be a pest, but I definitely made it so that I definitely expressed interest and made it clear that I wanted to be a part of this.
I'll spoil Sam's story a little bit, but after he worked with one of our coaches, Janan Sarwar, I believe you got your first job after the program, within a month or so.
Yeah.
Like that. But then there was just a remote job doing MTM stuff. And then a few months later, you found the job you're at now, which is a much bigger commitment to my understanding.
Yeah, it's funny because the first remote job, I knew within a day that it did not fit my values. I knew after the first day I didn't want to be here. This was going to be just something I did and I wasn't very passionate about.
And that's the career journey, right? No matter what happens, it's never a dead end. And I think a lot of people feel like that's where they're at. It's a dead end. Going back to the original question, just to give a little snippet, how do you find these jobs? Of course, you can use the keywords, right? You could type in remote. But in my analysis of the kinds of jobs that use that specifically in the title, I would say that these jobs typically aren't as always secure. They are often contract work. They're not roles where they are considered often they are not considered essential team members. That isn't always true. But the reason why I point it out is because when they plaster the remote in the title, they're looking for those kinds of people to fill a job, maybe do it for a couple months just to get their team stable, and then they let that position go. Sometimes they use the word remote in the job description. And so sometimes your searches can analyze those things. The better strategy, and it's the one that Sam, utilized after working with our coach, and he just displayed a lot of the systems and the strategies that we talk about. He found opportunities through networking. He identified a company that was actually interesting, aligned with his values, and began doing insider interviews. The best way to go about this strategy is to look for companies that have the kind of positions that you're interested in and start having conversations and finding out, hey, is remote a possibility? Rather than just thinking also, like, you look at a job description, you don't see anything about remote and saying, nope, see ya, I don't want it. Start the conversation, then call the manager, find out what is it about the job? Is remote a possibility? Not only is it a great way to start a relationship, but it's going to make you that much better of a candidate to stand out from the crowd. So for time purposes, I would say you guys are on the other side of it now. I have two questions. How is life different now that you're working in a remote position?
Well, I don't cry every day when I leave work. I actually enjoy what I do. It's a sense of satisfaction that I feel like I'm actually being a pharmacist using my degree, and I have a much better work-life balance. I actually enjoy what I do, and I'm able to pursue other hobbies now, like outside of work, and not just strictly pharmacy. So much better work-life balance, just much mentally, just in a much better place. And I love what I do. Like, this is what I wanted to do, and I never thought I could get a job like this.
Yeah, I can definitely commiserate with that sentiment, Napur. I love the freedom that my position offers. I control my own schedule. I can wake up and I'm gonna go to the gym today, and then I'll do some errands, and then I'll get some work done, have dinner with my mom, and then get some more work done later on in the evening. I have a bad habit of filling empty time with work. So, but I like what I do, and it's not like I don't have to give 100% of my effort into it all at once. So I've expanded my, I guess you can say, like, hobbies. I've moved to a new city, and I get to volunteer more. I get to be more active in other local associations. I get to play with my dogs more.
Yeah, there you go.
And they're very upset that they don't get my attention right now. Truly, they're the employees of the month every month. But I think what's mostly different is that I don't find myself worrying about whether or not the success I have for the day will be determined on whether or not a subordinate shows up to work or the mood of my superiors. My success is determined on how much hard work I'm going to put in that day. So that relieves a lot of stress because you have that much control. So I think that really is what's the biggest difference. Yeah, you're happier, but why you're happy is that you're not at the whim of your superiors and your subordinates anymore.
Yes.
And very quickly, how did your coach help you go through this transformation for where you're at now in this job that you have?
I felt Julie was my coach, and she was on my side. I never doubted that she was on my side and that she had my best interests at heart. Because when I started with the Happy Farm Bee, I was not in a good place mentally, professionally, anything like that. I hated what I did, and I questioned my life choices that brought me to that point. But she helped me to regain focus. Like, okay, take a step back. We're not going to start looking at jobs right away. We need to figure out you. Like, what are your interests? What do you like to do? Not just as a pharmacist, but as a person as well. And then slowly, you kind of take that step to kind of narrowing the focus, narrowing the search. You are utilizing your time properly. You're utilizing your search properly. You're not wasting time, kind of like jumping in the water and flailing everywhere. You are able to swim to a set location and get the job done. Because shortly after I finished the program, I found my job within a month too. Because everything I was doing was
So cool.
Yeah,
So cool.
yeah.
How about you, Sam?
My coach Janan, she really helped me. If like you ever hear of the phrase blinders, like on a horse in like horse racing, it's like it keeps you centered on what your goal needs to be. She didn't let me get distracted by shiny objects. She kept me accountable. Like I kept a good open channel of communication, and then when I would mention something, she would make sure she would follow up with and keep me accountable. It's like, did you contact that recruiter, or what did you do that was career oriented at the time? What was different is that like a large portion of the time that I worked with my coach, I was fun employed, as I like to call it. I didn't have to worry about stressing out about what was going on at my job at the day, because my job was myself. I made sure when I wasn't working to always do at least an hour of career-oriented stuff a day. I would always try and have at least one job application to a job that interested me a week. So having someone to hold me accountable, having someone to motivate me to do the work, and having someone there to celebrate your successes really helped me get out on the other side with a job that I liked. What really helped was that it was like a lot of my friends who like outside of my pharmacy school network aren't pharmacists. So I felt that I couldn't really gripe or commiserate with them the stresses of my life, because they just didn't get it. But having a pharmacist on the other end who was my coach and understood where I was coming from and was motivated to see me succeed, and someone who knew and went through the same kinds of struggles that I went through. So I didn't feel like I had to, for lack of a better phrase, dumb down what I was like griping about. It was like I said, like I had this problem today, and we spoke the same language.
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
There's something powerful about a coach in your corner. I just spoke with my coach yesterday, and it's so wonderful to have someone who believes in you, who pushes you though. You know, I joke with him often that like I always start with a clean shirt, and by the end of the hour I'm sweating. I have to go change shirts because he's asking tough questions. But he's asking tough questions so that I improve and that I get better and that I get the results I want faster. Okay, so it's my turn. So I promised at the beginning of this webinar that I wanted to give you some details about what it would be like to connect with us. And then after I go through this, I'd love to answer a few questions. I see some really interesting ones. I'll get to those. I want to give everyone here an opportunity to connect with our career advisors to pursue a career in pharmacy you love. I think pharmacists are valuable, not just as pharmacists, but as human beings. And that's what you are first, a pharmacist second. And I believe that pharmacists deserve to work in environments where they love what they do. They're engaged by their work. Yes, there's challenges. Yes, there's hard days. But at the end of the day, and even on the weekend, they can turn off their mind from work. They can enjoy their families, and they can be proud that they love their jobs, that they love being a pharmacist. And like how Sam and Apor shared, that's not where they were. And in fact, as Napor said, they questioned whether or not they made the right choice. And I felt the same way when I started my career. It was a dark place, but this is your career. This is where you're at. You don't have to hate your job. You don't have to hate your boss, your life, or yourself, or the decisions that you've made. You don't have to quit pharmacy to be a happy pharmacist. So the first step to working with us is to book a call. I'm going to put a banner. Hey, look at that. It's already there. Thank you, team. So the first step is book a call. If you type in this link, thehappypharmd.com/RJW2, RJW2, you can book a time to chat with one of our career advisors, Eric or Tamar. Eric is the one that lives very close by. Tamar is very, very far away. And what they'll able to do is talk with you and assess where you at in your career and provide some next actionable steps for your career. And if they feel like this is a good fit for you, if you would benefit from coaching, they'll share with you the details of our program, what it's like to work with a coach, and maybe even introduce you to one so that you can get a feel for what is this, what is coaching like, and what kind of results can I expect from it. This is a really interesting time for us. We've been in the business now almost 6 years. And I was sharing with Napor before this, I hit the record button, and I was reflecting on her story, and I was thinking about where she was in her career. And it's just so powerful to know what a coach did in her life and how it transformed not just her career, but her family, the patients that she's helping, the company that she's a part of. And I can't ask for much more than that from my life. So I'm very honored. I'm very happy to be a part of this. Napor, Sam, thank you so much for your time. If you'd like to stick around, I'm more than happy to have you guys be here because there are some interesting questions. But I do want to just put it out there one more time. Don't wait. It is actually, December is the perfect month to get organized in your career because guess what? Not as many companies are hiring right now. But those that are prepared come January for when the new opportunities drop are going to be the ones that are benefiting from all that preparation they did in December. Book the call. You won't, you'll very much benefit because Eric and Tamar have talked to now well over a couple thousand pharmacists. They know what it's like. They've heard the stories over and over again. And, you don't want to be someone who waits another year and you're in the same position that you're at now. So let's take down some of these questions. I'm going to try to go from the top. Sam, I think actually this is a question for you. What
Sure.
CE programs did you find helpful to enhance your skill set?
Well, that really depends on what kind of role you really want to end up in at the end. So when
She's
I
asking about you specifically.
well, for me, I did diabetes, cardiovascular ones. I did a certificate training course in MTM. I don't have my my CV in front of me, unfortunately, but
what was the best one? What was the best?
I think the best one was, or at least the one that really helped me stand out when I applied for jobs, was the MTM one. Because that one, there were a lot of jobs that were looking for someone to do MTM. Being able to show that I had done that certificate training course recently was an attractive thing for recruiters. But I do have to say that just because you do a certificate training course doesn't automatically make you was like, yes, I am an MTM pharmacist now. Like, it gives you the tool set to be able to implement those kinds of programs. So like, if you do end up taking like a course, try and see if you can introduce some of these changes in your current area of practice. And if you have an amenable superior, you'd be able to say like, nothing gets a manager or recruiters like eyes wide open, like saying you developed and implemented and pushed through a program all on your own. So these training programs will give you the tools to do that, but just doing them in and of itself isn't automatically going to get you a job.
Mary says, I find one of the downsides of working remotely is when higher ups try contacting you after working hours. Do you also find this an issue at times? And what would your advice be? Well, Mary, no one tries contacting me after hours. Actually, that's not true. Sometimes people text me. Honestly, what we do is I try to tell people, hey, text me during business hours if it's about a client issue. But it comes down to a powerful agreement. And this is a really important step in our coaching process, is to understand what your values are. Because some people love this kind of thing. Some people love their work and they love to contact each other about stuff outside of work. I think most people don't. But as long as you, especially if you get a job offer from a company, I would be very clear from the outset. These are my rules. I would like to, unless there's an emergency, I'd like to not be contacted after business hours. And some people think that that's bold. Guess what? You're a pharmacist. You're valuable, and if they give you a job offer, then they want you. They don't want anyone else. So ask what you're worth. I almost ended that by saying baby, but trying to be professional here. Here's another good one. Jacqueline asked, do you have to take a pay cut? There is, I know these two can say specifically, if you guys want to share percentages or what you know or have experienced. But I know that there is some data that suggests that remote jobs are the same, if not a little bit lower. But it depends. It really depends. Do either of you feel comfortable sharing? If not, we can move on.
I
can.
Yeah.
Okay.
But $10 less than what I was making now, or making then. I know everyone's financial situations are different. Not everybody can afford to take a pay cut, but the trade-off for me was mental health. Like, it just being able to turn off work and being present for family, friends, life outside of pharmacy. To me, that made everything all worth it. So It didn't really affect me in the end. Nobody wants to take a pay cut, really, but I've already gotten 2 raises. I've already gotten 2 bonuses. So I'm well on my way to making what I was making in retail. But yes, I did take a pay cut initially.
Yeah, when I signed on with that remote MTM job, technically it was a pay increase because I was making 0, but but yes, I was making less than what I was making as a pharmacy manager. So you got to be cognizant of the fact that a lot of these positions in community, they pay high because shouldn't be accepting low pay for the amount of stress and work that they put you through. Like, if I was going to be put through the ringer every day, I would definitely say, it's like, you better be paying buku bucks to get me in that door. So you're right. It's you take a pay cut financially, but what you gain in just your own sanity back, you can't put a price on that. And like now now my situation's really weird because this is my first instance of being a 1099 employee and having to take on all my expenses. But then on the other hand, it's I get to write stuff off. So I really can't say whether or not I'm taking a pay cut or a pay increase at the moment. We'll see after tax day.
We'll have to do a webinar a year from now.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
it comes
there.
down to what Napor said. What is your mental health worth? Even if it is a pay cut. I understand everyone's got expenses, but if the opposite were true, would you take $10,000 more a year or $20,000 more a year to be absolutely miserable if that's your current situation? I definitely took a pay cut to be remote, to have my own business when I first started out. But I love what I do. It doesn't feel like work. I'm not working for anyone else. It's a dream come true. So, and plus I get other benefits besides just money. There's a lot of good questions here. Here's a fun one though. Sam, have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once? I have.
I have not. I think
It's
that's
my
a movie.
favorite movie of the year. You have to see it. It's so good.
Okay. Everything.
Do you also assist in finding pharmacy industry jobs that are remote? Yes, quite a few. I just spoke with a pharmacist who got an MSL role, totally remote. It's very common. Are there infectious disease opportunities that are remote? Yes, but it depends on what you mean. So if you say ID, do you mean as a clinician? If so, definitely less. But guess what? There are odd jobs that are infectious disease remote jobs for pharmacists, but it may be things that you may not. Taking the night shift, covering some remote hospital in the middle of nowhere, may not be exactly what you want. But you can also take your infectious disease expertise and you could get into pharma. Just an idea. I'm trying to look for one more question. Here's one, and last one of the night. Do you suggest obtaining multiple state licenses to be more marketable?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it really depends. Like I got an additional state license after I started this job because it allowed me to consult in a different state. But I didn't get it before I got this job. I didn't even consider getting another license. But if you live on the border of two states, or there's a health system that's based in like across those state lines, it may be helpful. It's a unique situation that for most instances, I'd agree with Alex. It's like I wouldn't get another license unless I knew I was going to work in that state or someone was going to pay me to get it. But
yeah,
like I said, if you do live like near a border of another state, it could be helpful.
I currently have 16 working on number 17, but only because for it.
Yeah, I have 3.
Fired, but like, and from what I've been seeing there, I've seen a few positions asking for multiple licensure, but I wouldn't do it just for the sake of doing it. Do it because it's required or needed, and it is expensive, and it does require a lot of time because there's a lot that's involved. So just make sure that you're going to get reimbursed or that it's required by the company and that it's going to get you somewhere. Like it's.
Yeah, I would just end by saying you could argue it makes you marketable no matter what. But at the end of the day, are you going to find a company that actually values that? Because not every company will. The better approach would be to really plan out your journey, your destination, where you want to go, and then figure out if that needs to happen or not. Okay. With that, it's time for us to end our time together. Thank you for being with us tonight. Again, Napor, Sam, you guys were awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, Sam's puppies, for your constant applause of our topic tonight.
They really support it. They support me being home a lot.
Yeah, they do. For those of you watching, know that you matter. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And I'm going to sleep really good tonight knowing that we made a difference in these two pharmacists' lives. And I know that we can make a difference for you as well. Thank you and have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.
And happy